Let's make one thing clear right now. I am not a sexist and I am not a misogynist. I'm just giving my opinion on something that's been bugging me for just a little bit. Now look, when I say I'm not a sexist or a misogynist, I mean it. Because that would imply I think women are lower than men. Truthfully, I do believe men and women are equal. We're both human beings, we both generally have the same amount of anatomy parts. Obviously, there are some exceptions. That's kind of what makes the difference between male and female. Generally have the same interests and stuff like that. I think men and women are equal and the same. That said, now I know women have had it rough for pretty much a majority of human existence. I completely understand it. That pretty much changed around 50s, 60s, or whatever when women slowly started to become equal in the eyes of everybody. But here's the thing that's been bugging me. There are just so many women who are so, I'm a strong, independent woman, I don't need a man, blah, 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 blah. And you know what? I get it. I truly do get it. But if you actually do have a man and you have that mentality, is that really a good thing to have? Like, for example, most of the women I see who have this mentality are single or have had troubles with men before, and they have this mentality of, oh, I don't need to rely on a man because men aren't going to be reliable. I get it. I truly do get it. But then they slowly start to get this, how do I put it, kind of like a mentality of all men are bad, something like that. I mean, I don't necessarily blame them given their past. I mean, and everyone's going to have a different past, so I'm not one to judge everybody. Because trust me, most of the time when I'm judging someone, it's for the sake of comedy. So, anyway, as I was saying, so when they have this mentality that all men are bad, when they finally do find a good man, they, I don't know, it's kind of like the women don't even want to give it a shot, even though this could be the man that really could fix everything. Now, obviously, I'm not blaming the women for this. If the men were really that bad enough to these women, then yeah, I totally, completely understand it. But back to the point I was making in the beginning. There are some of these women who have this mentality that they don't need a man to take care of them. And, you know, it's not necessarily a bad scenario to plan for. But when you have a man who actually has a good chance of helping you and supporting you, and then you act like you don't need him, that's kind of going to make him feel a bit unloved, don't you think? Like you spend and plan your whole life like you don't need a man in your life, and even just going to the point where you're focusing on your future as yourself and your career more than your future with him. I, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right to me. Because imagine if the roles were reversed here for a second. There was a man who was only focused on his career, only focused on his personal future, and completely putting as minimal time and effort into thinking about his future with his girlfriend, possibly future wife. Do you really think that's going to work over really well? Because from what I've seen and experienced, that kind of stuff is generally what leads to cheating. And trust me, cheating is not pleasant at all. I'm not necessarily justifying the cheating that comes from it, but you've got to admit it is kind of understandable why it would lead to that scenario. I guess what I'm ultimately trying to say here is yes, women, you are free to be your own person. You don't got to necessarily do what your man says, but it wouldn't necessarily hurt every now and then to just maybe try to treat him with a little respect. And again, everyone's different, so if you are one of these women who do have this mentality of only focusing on your future and stuff like that, but also treating your man with respect at the same time, then perfect, this isn't for you. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to sit back, relax, and maybe think about how your actions are affecting your partner. For men and women. Honestly, because like I said, it works either way. If you're one of those people who are so focused on their personal future or their personal schedule, putting as little effort into seeing your partner or doing anything to help your partner, you really need to stop and ask yourself why. And maybe it's a sign you don't actually love the person or don't want to see yourself with them. And you know what? If that's the case, then maybe you should tell them that or consider talking about it. I'm personally not the best person to go to for relationship advice, but I have somewhat enough experience to know what works and what doesn't in a relationship. And communication is key. Because believe me, nothing pisses anyone in a relationship off more than not knowing how their partner is feeling. So if you don't like what your partner's doing, then tell them. If you, honest to God, do not like it, then tell them about it. I mean, it may not necessarily get them to stop, but You know what? If they know you don't like this and they continue to do it anyway, then personally, I don't find that very respectful. I mean, granted, I know women are supposed to be their own people, not rely on the man, don't need to be controlled by the man, but there's a difference between being controlled by a man and being respectful for your man. Huge difference. My personal experience with relationships, there are plenty of things I wanted to do, but didn't because I respected what she wanted. She didn't want me to do a certain thing as simple as dyeing my hair. You know what? As much as I wanted to do it, I didn't do it because I respected what she wanted. Now, granted, she immediately did the exact opposite, and when I told her what she should do with her hair, she does the exact opposite of what I loved, but you know what? What are you gonna do? That's women for you. Because if there's one thing I've definitely learned in relationships, is that the woman is always right, even when she's wrong, and don't even bother arguing about it. Sometimes, in my personal experience, they do the exact opposite of what you want, just maybe feels like for no reason than to piss you off. Maybe it's because they don't want to feel like they're being controlled by the man. But like I said, there's not necessarily being controlled by a man, it's just respecting his wishes. I mean, sure, sometimes you gotta draw the line at some things, but for something simple stuff, it's just, is it really worth getting into an argument for? So if you are finding yourself in this scenario where your partner isn't necessarily, I don't know, liking or agreeing with you or respecting you, stuff like that, if you haven't talked about it, talk about it. I mean, sometimes that's all it takes. Come to some sort of mutual understanding and agreement. I mean, sure, a lot of the time I swear like it's only the man who needs to change at the end of the day, even though the woman is 100% in the wrong, but you know what? That's the price you get. Yeah, maybe I'm not the best person to be giving relationship advice, especially since I'm one of the biggest assholes I know, but you know what? What can you do? Anyway, I guess that'll do it for this episode of Melvin Talks. It's been a while since I've done something like this, almost about 2 months now or so. So I'll plan to be a little bit more active for you guys. Some of these talks, some of the little sketches that I like to do. So hopefully I can be a little bit more frequent with my uploading, and I'll see you fuckfaces later.